Hey guys, good morning. Hey, a beautiful day here in late June. It's I don't know, about 80 degrees already. Busy day for us. Lisa and I have been wanting to start some work on the property here. You know, as we probably mentioned earlier, we're going to end up putting in a RV carport here on our property. But before we do that, we've got to move the shed that we have on the property. So we've coordinated with a moving company to come in here, pick up the shed and relocate it on our property. And they're supposed to be here in a couple hours. But before we do that, had to do a little bit of work yesterday. Had to take off some of the trim that was around the bottom of the shed. Had to remove the old ramp that was on the shed. It was a little bit rotted. Well, not a little bit, quite a bit rotted. So I had to go and get that taken off so they can go ahead and pick up the shed and relocate it. We're gonna have to move the Airstream here shortly as well. It's in the way. But once we get this relocated, get the Airstream out of the way, and then we can get the shed moved, that's gonna free up a lot of space for us here on the property, so we can go ahead and start working with some other builders to come in here and give us some estimates on building a carport or RV carport, so I can park the Airstream and the truck side by side when we're here at the home base before we get out back on the road and start traveling. So a few things we got to get done this morning, so better get after it before the movers get here, and go ahead and get everything ready to go. All right, so one thing that I did since we've been here, since we haven't been connected up to any type of electrical power, is I went ahead and disconnected all of our batteries and everything. So before we can move the Airstream, I got to go ahead and get these reconnected. So just take a moment to hook everything back up. We'll go ahead and get the Airstream hitched back up to the truck and go ahead and get it relocated before the movers arrive. Okay, so it's been a while since we've actually had the Airstream hooked up to power. Even though the batteries were disconnected, I still want to go ahead and check to see what type of voltage I have on here. So I got my multimeter. We'll go ahead and check the voltage, and about 12.6 volts. Not too bad. So it looks like it's held its charge pretty well. So I think we'll be good to go. Go ahead and get everything buttoned up here. Go ahead and get the stabilizer jacks lifted up, and then go ahead and go through our checklist before we hitch up. And then, even though we're only moving just a few hundred feet, still always good to be safe. So one thing that I didn't expect when we moved here to South Carolina was how sandy this soil is. So it's definitely been a bit of a challenge. Lisa's been a bit frustrated with me tracking in sand into the Airstream and into the house and everything. But you know, once we get some concrete poured, or either that or some gravel put down, I think that'll help control a lot of this sand. We had a pretty good rainstorm last night, so you can see a little bit of the sand's kind of washed around onto the outdoor rug here and everything, but I think we're in good shape. So another reason why we bought this property and we like it so well is because it is on a corner lot. So I've got my main driveway that leads up to our home. And that's the direction we'll be pulling the truck in and Lisa's car. But the back of the property also has a path. It's not a driveway, but it's a path right now that had been cleared whenever the previous owners had this property. And what we plan on doing is eventually putting in a gravel driveway through here that'll allow us easier access. So yesterday I came down here, and there's a partial fence set up along the road here. And I went ahead and took down some of the old timbers, pulled out one of the old posts. I don't know if you can see it here behind me, kind of back over here. And then the partial fence. I left one of the rails up just to prevent anybody from driving up here into the property. But we'll go ahead and open that up. I'll put a gate in there of some sort, and that'll allow us then to be able to pull in the Airstream off of the road here and then drive up to its future parking location once we get the new RV carport established and installed. Hopefully we can get that done in the next month or so, but contractors around here are pretty busy, and you know, it may take a little while, but that's our plan. All right, guys, so I think we've pretty much got everything ready to go for us to start hitching up. As you can see, Lisa's here. She's gonna help me get hitched up, and then we're gonna move the camper. You can see the shed behind us here, but what we got to do also before the movers get here is we got to make sure that we know exactly where we want to put the shed at on the property. Yeah. So we can then have them drop it off there and get it set up and level and everything. So before we hitch up the truck and trailer, we're going to go ahead and kind of walk the property over here and see where we want to put the shed at exactly. So you want to do that real quick?
Sounds good.
So our property here, you know, not huge property, but big enough that we can you know, relocate the shed and find a spot to park the Airstream. But I think what we want to try to do is where it's currently at back behind us. I don't know, I think you can probably still see it back there, right back there. We've just got some space here where we think we want to go ahead and put the shed. So we'll probably go ahead and put it in this general area here. What do you think, Lisa?
I think that's a good idea. It's it's flat. So I think that's a pretty good idea. Yeah,
and I think it'll be out of the way. It won't block our entry and exit path along that far tree line. It'll be out of the way whenever we build the RV carport up there where the current shed is at, and should still facilitate us being able to store stuff in the shed without having to walk too far, you know, once when we're not traveling. So. Okay, so after we're walking through the yard and kind of rethinking things, we've got another option as far as where we want to put the shed at. Because we were looking around and like, well, you know, maybe is that really, you know, kind of down over here, is that really the ideal spot for it? So then Lisa says, well, what about up here in the trees over here? And I thought, well, you know, it's a bit more of a slope, which would be a bit of a challenge, but it would be ideally out of the way a little bit more, more up in the trees. We're kind of not hinder anything in the backyard. I mean, we got a little bit of wood over here, some junk wood I got to haul off. But here's our other option, and I'll quickly flip the camera around so you can see it. So Lisa, what do you think about this option?
I kind of like this option. It's kind of up in the trees and it's not as noticeable, and it's actually closer, so if we have to unload the stuff from the Airstream.
Yeah, so I think there's enough space here. You may not be able to tell from the camera, but it does slope downhill a bit from up here, from the neighbor's property down here. So we would just have to make sure that the movers could level the trailer enough, I mean the shed enough, and then I'd have to build a different size ramp. A little longer, a little steeper ramp, you know, be able to get in and out easily. But so when the movers get here, we'll discuss some of the two options that we've come up with. I think either one of them will work. We'll just have to figure out which one we want best. All right, so as we're waiting for the movers to get here, I went ahead and kind of cleared off some of this area behind me here. Hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Option one for where we want to put the shed. I think this is where Lisa prefers to put it. But we'll see. We'll see what the movers say. If they think this too much of a slope, or if they're not going to be able to get up in here. And then I'll walk down to where option number 2's at. I showed it to you earlier, but I kind of cleaned it off a little bit too to see how the ground looks actually underneath all the pine needles and pine cones as well. The whole property kind of slopes from, I guess, what is it, north to south a little bit. But it's not a huge slope, but this, because the soil is so sandy, we do get a lot of kind of erosion. Hopefully we'll get some more ground cover in here. So here behind me you can see the other area. I think it's a little flatter, but I think either location will work out fine. We just want to make sure that we've got two options for the movers. You know, our first option, and then second option if they don't think they can fit it in the first one. So about another hour and a half, they should be here, and hopefully we'll get started.
3 hours later.
All right, so the movers finally showed up a couple hours late, but hopefully we'll get them here and they'll get pulled in and get the shed moved.
Just then.
All right, guys, well, so we thought we were about complete. We thought we had it in a good spot. I really liked it back up there in the trees, but once we started to level it, it was clearly not gonna work. We had to raise the front end up to about 30 inches high, which then would have required to build a long 12, 14-foot ramp to be able to get into the shed. So that's not gonna work for us, unfortunately. So the guys are hitching it back up, and we're gonna try a different location here on the property. So, second try. Well, guys, so second time's a charm. We actually got the shed set up here, got it leveled. You can see it here behind me. I think it'll work out well for us. Unfortunately, that first location we went to just wasn't going to be functional. We just couldn't get it level without raising the front end up just way too high, which would have made the ramp exceedingly steep and just wasn't going to work for us. So the crew, you know, Ken and his son Marshall did a fantastic job moving it down here to the alternate location, and I think we're going to be happy with it here. But you know, more importantly, it's going to free up that space where the shed was at before for us to have some builders come in and build us an RV carport here on the property, and then get some electricity run over there so we can get the Airstream up under cover. But that's a project for another day. So hey guys, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing. You know, we do all kinds of different content on this channel, whether it's just retirement planning, travel, Airstream related tips and tricks, and other things like that. So we'd love to have you join along on our journey. And if we don't hear from you, or if you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comment section below. But if we don't hear from you, hey, hopefully we'll see you down the road. So safe travels.